So a few people have been asking about the bass sound on the debut Plague of Angels single What Lies Beneath. The foundation of the sound is a pedal called the Trondheim SkarBass One. Unquestionably the best bass distortion pedal there is, but it does so much more than that. It's a whole signal chain that you could spend weeks putting together, but in a pedal. The drive and the clarity and the note definition is absolutely phenomenal. What the pedal is fantastic for is not ending up with a muddy bass tone through distortion, and not an abrasive tone through bass distortion. So let's listen to the bass with the drums again, and then listen to the bass in solo. And what you'll hear now is if I knock out the SkarBass One channel, you'll hear the impact of the bass is drastically compromised. And I'll just show you the other channels that I'm using here, which is I've actually used a DI, frequency bracketed in the lows. This is a production approach that I learnt off Jens Bogram, which is surprisingly effective. You'll also see I've got the Ampeg Classic. There's just a little bit of punch that I always miss when I'm not using an Ampeg Classic. And then finally, I'm just getting a little bit of upper frequency grit from the VH4, from the diesel VH4, which is obviously a guitar amp. And I've just frequency bracketed this into the highs. But actually you'll hear that if you listen to the SkarBass One on its own, this is the sound that's delivering all of the impact of the bass sound. And indeed I've done some mixes where it's been the only signal that I've used for mixing. It's worked out. I just get a little bit more control by using these other signals. Certainly in a studio production environment live, I'll just always go with the SkarBass One. Let's have a quick listen to the bass within the context of the rest of the mix. I'm putting this through a Torpedo C.A.B 2 Notes, and interestingly in the 2 Notes, I've actually loaded a guitar cabinet within that. The great thing about the SkarBass One is really it's about the mids control for me. Once it's set completely clockwise, this is kind of like the flat position, but for me the sweet spot is with it at 12 o'clock. From 12 o'clock, as you progress further counterclockwise, it scoops out the sort of 200 cycles to 1K region of the bass, which is very beneficial for metal music, and it allows you to have that space available for the rest of the mix. But importantly, when you start lowering this 200 to 1K region, it doesn't affect the lows. And it doesn't affect the highs, it doesn't thin the highs out. It's got a very fast FET compressor, field effect transistor. It's like an 1176 lightning fast, very high ratio. In the studio, I don't go as heavily on that. You've got a little LED here, and when it goes to red, it's hard compression, medium compression. It's green when it's just providing soft compression. Live, you can go for it a little bit more and get it compressed great at source. So it's a really fantastic compressor. And the drive and tone knobs work in kind of like combination with each other. The drive is like multi-band drive. In other words, it doesn't hit the low frequencies. And the tone, it's really for rolling off the rasp, the high end of things. It's sort of like a high cut filter for taming rasp. So if the distortion's hitting the high frequencies a bit too hard, start rolling off the tone, or perhaps if you want more bite and more note definition, you can certainly increase it. The mix knob is really interesting in that if you go from the noon position, as you go clockwise, it favours the high frequencies, or counterclockwise, it goes more towards the lows. And I generally change the drive section just to get the right balance between the low end punch and the amount of bite and grit in the high frequencies. And I remember introducing the pedal to Andrew Sheps when he was here, and Andrew Sheps has gone straight out, and I think he endorses Trondheim now. And I've introduced it to other people. One of which being Lena, the bass player from My Dying Bride, and we have recently completed, and it's been released, the new My Dying Bride album, A Mortal Binding. And Lena's just done an article in Bass Empire magazine about the bass sound on the album. And what happened is Lena came across with 3 or 4 different Mayones basses, and we did a shootout and actually found out that the BE5 with an Amazico body was the best sounding bass, absolutely the best sounding bass I'd heard in a long time. So I actually couldn't find the Mayones BE5. I was trying to find one second hand because they don't make them anymore. I actually contacted Mayones themselves about this, and what I then found out was that the BE5 was based on the Warwick Corvette, and as you'll see, the design of the bass is quite similar, and got hold of the Warwick Corvette, and this is an absolute beast. It is without question the nicest sounding bass that I've ever recorded. The low end punch and the weight and the note definition is absolutely phenomenal, and it is a weight and 3/4. You would not believe how heavy this bass is. So this has become the cornerstone of the Plague of Angels bass sound, and it's the Warwick Corvette. Thanks for watching.